Hello and welcome to Bendy, a podcast about being flexible and all of the ways that means. Thanks for joining us. My name is Andy Young, and I'm one of your sporulating, connecting hosts. Joining me as always is our other sporulating and connecting host, Beth Martin. Beth, a pleasure as always. What's the crack? Boy,
Sporulating.
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 Boy, do I regret that word choice. But here we are.
There it is.
There it is. It's
There it is.
happened.
For
Not
out
going
there
to change it.
forever. Nope,
Yeah.
nope. Um, the crack. I was just saying to you right before we press record. Um, my health is tanked right
Yeah.
now. It's really annoying, and I don't know, man. It's like I don't know what I did to have this downward spiral, but I'm like 2.5, 3 weeks in with no end in sight. In bed most of the day, watching lots of Bravo and Summer House. It's so
Nice.
lame. So I have all this free time, but I don't really have. It's weird. It's like long COVID ate my hormones, and so
Yep.
I don't have energy. I don't want to do anything. I have no desire to like have a drive to do anything. I have no appetite. Like I've got migraines again. I'm nauseous. So we're doing tests, we're running tests and, figuring it all out. But all to say, like, I know I'm not the only one in the world, or, I know there are quite a few of our listeners that have health problems. And when you're in it, you're in it. And I just feel for everybody that has to go through these things, and I already just know the kind of old person I'm going to be
Yep.
because it's happening. And like
Yeah.
it's just like God, I'm that person that all I do is talk about my fucking health problems. So I
No,
apologize. It just
that's not
fucking I'm
true.
sick of it. I'm sick of
Yeah, I
it.
know. I am also sick that it's happening to you, but I don't
I
think it's
know.
true that that's all you talk about at all.
Okay.
But it's obviously pretty important as well. Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, you're fine
Hmm.
to talk about it. Don't
Hmm.
be too hard on yourself. And
Yeah.
it's, and as much as like it's hard to find comfort sometimes, I think just talking about problems sometimes can help a little
Yeah.
bit, like each disease a little
Yeah.
bit. It just,
Yeah.
puts it out
I
in the
don't
world.
know. Like I feel so fucked up in my body. I took a pregnancy test.
Oh wow, God.
Mike's had a vasectomy for like 9 years, right? So like there's no he's like, if you're pregnant, like you're gonna have some explaining to do. And I'm like, I don't know what else is like what else could
Yeah.
it be? We have to rule it out. I don't know. And so
The,
then we're
the,
having like the baby conversation
oh God,
again. I
really?
know it's been fucked up. So
They have though I know that it's highly unlikely, but I know it does happen sometimes that a
yeah.
vasectomy does kind of fix itself sometimes.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
told. Yeah, so
yeah.
yeah.
So I have to take another one today. And I know I'm not,
Yeah,
but it's just like I have to yeah. So I'm getting blood work done tomorrow too, and it's just like but yeah, we had to have that conversation where I was like, well, because he was like, "Do you need anything from the store?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I think I need like I don't think I'm pregnant, but like I have to rule this out because something is going on and I don't know
sure.
what it is." And he's like, "Okay, and then we're both kind of like this possibility is floating in the air and it's so weird. It's so
I'll
weird."
bet. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
wow.
So,
Do you
but we
think it's
both
um
decided that if I was pregnant, that, we would be like, cool. But if I'm not, then we'd both be like, cool.
yes,
So,
okay, good. Yeah, that's good. That's the best
yeah,
way to be.
right.
Do you think it's
So
an allergic reaction to not having any sweet Mariah action?
it's
Mariah?
entirely
Yeah.
it's entirely possible.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
So, yeah, the
Um,
holidays.
I love it, yeah.
How are you? Are you pregnant?
I mean, I've been very moody recently. So let's not rule it
Am I
out.
oversharing? I think I am
No,
oversharing.
you're
I don't
fine.
care. All right.
It's fine. People can relate to this.
Sorry,
It's good
everybody.
stuff.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so kind of the reason that inspired the topic for this episode, I'm not going to talk about it too much, is I went to a very cool sort of mushroom-based event at the weekend. Just I'm not gonna get into more detail as we kind of get through our episode, but it was very cool and kind of very reinvigorating for me. So yeah, very, very lovely. Also, since we last spoke, I saw the Seven remaster. Seven.
Oh,
Mm.
I saw that on Laserdisc the first time.
Oh,
I know.
nice. Bloody
That's how
da.
old I am.
But like that movie it was the 30th,
Uh-huh.
sobering because
Wow.
it was one of the
Wow.
first 18 movies I wasn't 18, but I managed to like slip in to see,
Uh-huh.
and I was very proud that I could see it.
Mine was Interview with a Vampire.
Oh, okay.
Ugh.
That's a good movie.
Have you rewatched it?
Not for years and years, no.
Yeah, okay.
I feel like I remember kind of going on quite a bit, but I remember quite enjoying it. Um, and it was great. It's also kind of like really upsetting. And like and you're like kind of like, wow, this is heavy. And especially as it's coming to the end and you're like, you know what's happening. You're just like, oh, whoa, oh fuck. I was, it's kind of interesting watching it again and like seeing like what a kind of like a kind of douchebag Brad Pitt's character is, and like how much of a like like a jock, fucking meatheaded jock he kind of is compared
Yes.
to like
Like wrestling with the dogs and like,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
So it really interesting watching it again. I really did thoroughly enjoy it, I must say, and it was kind of like that or go and see Babygirl by myself, and I'm like, I don't think
No,
I
don't
need
be
to
the
go and
only dude
see.
in the movie theater seeing Babygirl.
No, sitting with a popcorn bucket in my lap.
Right. No, no, no.
Nobody nobody needs to see that. Um,
So I have an actually interesting trivia fact about Seven.
okay.
So Brad Pitt, in his contract for that movie,
Uh-huh.
said he that they could not change the ending, that her
Okay.
head had to be in the
I've
box.
heard this. Yes,
Did you
yes,
hear
because he
this?
was like, this is so great. Yeah.
This is like, and they were like, and of course, at once they were, trying to figure out the final cut, and they were like, oh, we don't want that. We think it's too much to have her head in the box. And he's like, nope, it's in my contract. You got to keep the head in the box. So, and they were gonna, I think they were actually gonna show the head, but they
Yes,
never
apparently there
did.
is some footage of that you can find. Yeah.
Yeah. But then, so they've got this Gwyneth Paltrow head in a box, right?
Hmm.
And then this other movie gets made called Contagion. Have I told you this already?
Oh, I don't think so. I know what Contagion is. No, I don't think I know
Okay,
this.
okay, so
Okay.
she's in Contagion, and
Okay.
there's like she like dies within the first, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes of the
Okay.
movie, and they're doing an autopsy on her dead body, and they're like, "Oh my God, we have her head in the box. Let's just get that
Perfect.
head and we'll be like she looks dead, and we'll just use so they use the seven head for the movie Contagion
Incredible. I
for
love it. I did not
Gwyneth
know that. That's
Paltrow's.
great.
Yeah, there you go. So,
Waste not, want not. Okay. As we know
mhm.
about Hollywood, they're always very cost conscious and trying
They
to.
are keeping things in boxes, but
Yeah.
I these are the things I love to know about. These are
Yeah.
the facts I really want to have in my brain. So, you're
Uh,
welcome,
Perfect.
everyone. Yep,
I have another
heads in
big
boxes.
hidden boxes. Everybody, get yourself one.
Yeah.
Um,
You
so
never know when you might need it.
I was just true, right? It gets you a lot of sticky situations. Um, okay, so I have another big ticket. What's the crack that I started this week? I started DMing my D&D campaign on Saturday night.
Ooh.
Mm. Um, so it was after I kind of had forgotten I scheduled these two things. So I had this event that we're going to talk about in today's topic on the Saturday all day long, essentially. And then I was like DMing that night, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to find the energy for this. And especially because like it's my first time doing it, I wanted to be like in a better sort of place. But it was great. I had a really good time. The kind of
So
guys enjoyed it.
DMing is being you're the dungeon master, is
Dungeon
that
Master,
right?
yeah, you're
Okay.
running the show
For those
essentially.
of us who don't know the lingo,
Yes. So certainly how I
because
think of role-playing games.
DMing also means other things now.
This is very true, actually. Thank you. That's good to have that clarity. Um, so like in these games, the way I look at them and the way I think they should be looked at is like collaborative storytelling. And like I kind of have a kind of template that I want the guys to kind of work towards. And then I kind of have to improvise within that template, depending on what they throw at me. Um, but great fun. Like, and I when I go back to D&D. geez, about 10 years or so ago, and like people were doing like voices and stuff, and I was like mortified by this. I was like so embarrassed, but now I really lean into it and I'm really enjoying it a lot more. And like I kind of love, doing like a comedy bit. So like basically they had decided the party had decided that they didn't know each other coming into it, and I was like, okay, I can work with that. I've got a way of doing it. So I had them like I have like an adventure, like a pre-written adventure that I was going to play with them. And one of the hooks to get them into this adventure arc was that they committed some crime, and the guards were like, look, if you investigate this murder for us, we'll let you off essentially.
Uh-huh.
So I had them like wake up deeply hungover in a jail cell, and the guard kind of come up to them and go, "Boys, what did you fucking do last night?" And I keep revealing other kind of horrible things done as the time has went on,
That's
which they
awesome.
thoroughly enjoyed. But it's been great so far. Great fun. It's a great like it's three dudes that I thought I was going to enjoy playing with, and they're like different sorts of energies, but they work quite well together. And yeah, so it was very a great fun night, and I'm excited for more of it now.
That's fab. So how often do you play?
We're gonna play. I was gonna play fortnightly every 2 weeks.
Okay. Fortnite
Um,
means nothing to me, so
yeah, exactly. It's a video game, right?
like yes, yes. Like everyone, all the kids at school are wearing these shirts with
Play
Fortnite.
Fortnite.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, but we're basically one of our numbers, and we're gonna play at his house just to make it easier. Has two relatively young kids, so just from that point of view, we're gonna play at his place. Like, and it was trying to like figure out like as you get, as you know yourself, trying to schedule something in with any sort of frequency with adults is a fucking nightmare.
It
So like
is.
they wanted to do every 2 weeks on a Saturday, and I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to like lock down two of my Saturdays to every month essentially. But what we've landed on is that we'll do it every 2 weeks, but we'll do it one time on a Saturday, one time on a Sunday.
Smart.
So I'm happy enough with that.
Smart. Sometimes I think about like college and living in the dorms and just how easy it was to be social because you're all
Yeah,
stuck in there
yeah,
together. And like it was the best.
yeah.
It
I
was the best.
I I just love those kind of environments when you're thrown together with like-minded people. I mean, like our yoga teacher training, like
Yep.
even this event that I was at the weekend, it's a little like-minded people, and it's like this rocks. I over like the festive period, I watched what the documentary, what was the greatest night in pop, whatever it was called, and it was the recording of the is it Live Aid song? I can't
I was
remember,
gonna
but
say Live Aid or We Are the World.
We Are the World. Yeah, so like it was recording of that, and great documentary, very interesting. And at the end, they were talking about like how Diana Ross was one of the last ones to leave, and like she was like crying because she's like, I just don't want it to be over because she
Mm.
just loved being in that room with all those people. And I was like, that's really lovely. Like I'm sure it was like a high stress situation, but it was like probably something that will never happen again. All those sort of like egos and sort of like celebrities just in this one room
Mhm.
together trying to put a song
Mhm.
together. Very
Mhm. And
interesting.
actually like working together instead of like trying to, be the one to win the big award.
Yes.
And I've
Yeah.
noticed, and now I'm just like blah blah blahing, but as part of the lead up to the Oscars, they are doing these like roundtables with
Yeah.
the people that are nominated in similar categories, and it's so interesting watching these. There was one with like Demi Moore, Angelina Jolie, trying to think who else. Pamela
Other actresses.
Anderson.
Okay.
Yeah, and but they were all like, this is so weird that we're all sitting down here together. Like
Yeah.
normally, like the way everything is set up, we're supposed to be not in the same team, not, like we're fighting for the same roles. And here we are able to actually sit down and talk about what it's like
Yeah.
and, how isolating it is to be an actress or an actor because of that, just the fact that you're always fighting for the same
Yeah.
um
So true.
roles and I just I like that.
Yeah.
That was fascinating.
I've seen a lot of those actors and actors things, and I always think it's kind of a quite a like. I remember like some of them being a bit cringy, but I
Yes.
I do like it whenever I saw like Nicholas Hoult talking to Hugh Grant.
I love like, oh my
That was
God, I
great
gotta
fun.
see it. Those are two like Hugh Grant is just
I, I I like how little of a fucking shit he gives these days. He just doesn't give a
yes,
fuck.
his humor is so funny. I
Yeah.
saw he won, I think he was up for some he was it's award season, so he was up for some award and he for Heretic, which I haven't seen yet,
Yeah.
but I'm going to. And he was like, I'm glad my agent finally just realized, I need to just really be a full-blooded killer.
Love it. Yeah, it's good. And he was good, like he's been, he's a good bad guy in the D&D movie and stuff like that. So
He
I think
was.
I'm excited to see I think his career is in a really kind of interesting spot these days because I
Uh-huh.
think he got trapped in the sort of like romantic lead
Yes.
kind of comedy thing for a
Yes.
long time.
Yes.
So yeah, it's great, and he's great in Heretic, like he really is. It's a great role for
He
him, it
was a
really
good
is.
Oompa Loompa, the grumpy
He
Oompa
was,
Loompa.
he
He was
was.
so good. Anyways,
I love it. Okay. Do you have any occurring for us this week?
I do one quick thing. I had talked a couple weeks ago about my friend's fashion line
Yeah.
that was having like a big sale. Um, and they listened to our episode
Nice.
and they were grateful. So I just wanted to put a shout out if anyone is interested in amazing fashion, shoes, backpacks, perfumes, you can go to alanio.com.
I love it.
Support support artists, support artists. So
What
just
is
putting
that?
a
What
plug
was
out there.
that website again? Sorry.
Alanio.com,
Okay. Lanio.
and I will put it up on all of the socials. So
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Love it. Yes, please check them out. Okay. Shall we move on to our topic for this week?
sure.
Sure. All right. So I
You
have
said
titled,
that's it's such an American accent. Sure.
sure. So I have titled this episode as Mushroom for Mushrooms, right? To no reaction, which is exactly what I'm looking for, honestly. That's perfect. That's
Silence.
perfect. It's exactly what I want. So,
I'm
no,
sorry.
no, no, no.
I
That's
was too
that's
busy laughing
sure,
silently.
exactly. Perfect. Thanks, Beth. Uh, So, I just want to talk a little bit about what inspired this episode and why I wanted to talk about it. So, a friend of mine invited me to go to an event in south of Ireland. It was fairly central Ireland, I would say, but it was a micro remediation workshop.
Explain.
So what it was a one-day workshop for insight to provide insight and tools to work with local fungi species and mycelial structures to address issues around water quality in Ireland. Now, I think that only describes a tiny part of it. What it really was about was um, kind of about mushrooms generally, fungi generally, like the different kind of strains, how to a little bit of information about growing them for yourself, a little bit of information about growing them in terms of as part of a restorative practice for like wilderness, outdoor places. Um, there was hands-on projects as well as part of this, which was really great. And also like a lot of information about just how foundational kind of mushrooms are to our whole planet, to our whole ecosystem. One of the things that she said that really stuck with me was that 90% of plant life essentially has or like rely on fungal networks to survive. Like if they didn't
Mhm.
have almost this symbiotic sort of relationship with them, most of them would die. It was fascinating. Um, I learned a lot more. Like there's a lot of stuff we'll talk about it more in detail. I just don't want to like hog all the space to begin with, but it was just, yeah, so fascinating. It has been really inspirational for me in terms of learning more about this subject. I think on the podcast before we've talked about Fantastic Fungi, which is a really interesting documentary. I think everybody should check it out, even if you just got like a tangential sort of curiosity about the subject. But this has really made me want to explore it a lot more.
So, are you going to become a mushroom hunter?
Thinking about it,
So you need a little basket
yeah, I do. And
and a little napkin to put in your little basket
and a bonnet.
and a bonnet.
Yeah. Okay.
Uh, okay. Well, this is serious then, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, if you get them on it, it's definitely serious. So one, so one of the things that I was going to tell you about, and I'll not bury the lead, is that like the lady that ran it was from America. She was called Maya Ellison. She's
Mhm.
based in Santa Cruz,
Okay.
and she had said if any of us are over in Santa Cruz, we should go and visit her. So if I'm over visiting you sometime, we should
You
go and see it.
totally,
We should go.
yeah,
I mean, and I was like, oh, Beth would want to meet the mushroom
I
lady as
would,
well, I think.
I would, I would, absolutely.
Um, but on one of the things that was particularly pertinent about what's happening currently is that the guy, my friend who I was with, he's like, look, I don't want to, bring up a sensitive topic, but like, how you're from California, how is the thing that's going on currently affecting you? And she's like, fortunately, I'm in Santa Cruz. It hasn't impacted us, for now, certainly anyway, which I'm relieved at. But what she was saying was that there is a certainly in terms of the work that she does, there is in the aftermath of this, there is opportunity to kind of do more of their work, the more of their restorative work.
Interesting.
So like one of the things that we worked on while we were there with them was a I haven't written this down, Hugel, something other. Essentially, it is a way to basically a construct to build like compost or to like send nutrients properly back into the earth. So it was so what one of the things that they're looking to do is work with non-profit charities who are building houses for people who can't afford them, but they have the other problem that after a fire there is a lot of debris left that they can't deal with. So one of the things that they'll do is that they will take wood, they will take other sort of like biological plant-based scraps and kind of build this sort of big sort of pile. It's like there's a whole kind of percentage of this, it's like topsoil, plant and food waste. Like 40% is roughly like logs to kind of both aerate it and also, to allow them to break down. And you kind of like build just a big sort of she's going to be building these um in these areas to help kind of break that all down and kind of just deal with that
Wow.
rather than, just dump it all out.
Yeah. Well, and that I don't even know what recovery in Los Angeles looks like. But
Yeah.
the it's like farming, right? Even if you don't know farming, you've got to turn the nutrients to put nutrients in, because nutrients comes out, and
Yes.
I think there's probably not a lot of fungi in the yards that are being watered, in LA, right?
Yes.
And I you have to wonder, the speed at which everything burned and how it's just I can't even.
Yeah, in
I
terms
just
of
wonder if there was more of a base of
um
natural support, like what that would look like.
I agree. That's a very, very good point. Yeah, like in terms of us all, the idea is that we all have these perfect sort of green grass
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
lawns. It's not good for the planet at all. Like,
No.
it's just pretty. Yeah, I agree completely. Um, yeah. Um, I think one of the things he's talked about as well was that they had built these kind of waddles, which were like essentially and I think they had done this. I wasn't too clear. It said to Beth that they had slides and stuff like a PowerPoint presentation that I was hoping to have before this episode started. But there was like information. Basically, they were building these waddles, which were essentially like they were putting substrate in these sort of like almost these kind of natural barriers that they were in like planting into the ground, not too deep, with the idea that they would absorb heavy metals. They would, or at least not make them available. Because like, well, one of the problems whenever you put a lot of like pollutants into the ground is that plant life will then absorb it, which is exactly what you want to avoid. But oftentimes, if you plant the right sort of mushrooms in the right sort of area, it will absorb these things and just not make them available to the plant life and things like that.
So, did you know
Mhm.
that mushrooms are the largest living thing on Earth?
I did.
Yes, I
And
figured she would.
oldest a lot of the times. Well, some of them are thousands of years old. Certain,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So, like the Blue Mountains in Oregon, which I didn't know this, is like that's essentially all fungus.
Yes, I've
So
heard about this. She talked about that
yeah,
one. Yeah.
yeah.
Is it the golden oyster or something like I think she said? It's like massive. It's one of the biggest in the world there. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. The oyster mushroom
Hmm.
or the golden oyster?
Golden oyster, I think it was. I can't
Okay.
remember.
So the
Yeah.
oyster mushrooms are carnivorous.
Yes. Yes. So
Is that the same one?
I believe so. I think yes. So if this is the one, if this is, I may be conflating things, but I'm pretty certain she told us about this. So what happened with this is that it's non-native to that part of the world, but
Interesting.
what she talked about was that there are people growing mushroom strains, and in certain parts of the US, mushrooms have escaped. So the
Yeah.
mushroom have escaped from the
Yes.
factories into the
Yes.
ground and have just
Yes.
so like, which is like, which is bad because they can then run out, more native things that are connect better to the nature that exists there.
So I read this and I was like, oh, really? So they escape, they can go, into the earth, but they can all like, apparently mushrooms can create their own wind. So,
Fascinating.
typically like they wait for wind to come and then the spores will fly off.
Yeah.
And but they don't have to wait for a breeze to blow by. They release water vapor that creates a like little localized airstream, and the cooling of the vapor then moves the cells around the area, a la wind, which I didn't know.
I did not know that. That's fascinating.
Hmm.
But like, and one of the things it's been really exciting for me learning it. I mean, I've dabbled in it a little bit before, but again, this was such a cool experience. It really made me want to learn so much more about them. So I think, over the next few while, I swore to myself I wouldn't buy any more books until I read all the books, but I'm going to buy a book of mushrooms uh, as a treat for doing my taxes. Okay.
That's right.
Uh, well, wow.
Things change as we get older, huh?
Right, I know. What did you guys treat Andy for doing your taxes? Oh, a book of mushrooms. Um, like those kind of mushrooms? No, 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 just mushrooms generally. The science of mushrooms. Oh,
For
cool,
my
Andy.
basket.
You rock. Um, so yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. But that's I do think it's such a kind of fascinating subject. Sorry, one of the things for what's throwing me off here, I want to get back to it before we
Yep.
move on
I
completely.
interrupted.
No, you didn't. It was I just found out information I was looking for earlier. The thing that I was talking about, that kind of mound, so is a hugel culture,
Google.
which is literally a mound bed or mound culture, a horticultural technique where a mound constructed from decaying wood debris and other compostable biomass plant materials is later planted as a raised bed. So just as a way to like clear that material, very interesting. And
Huh.
we started making one of those as part of one of the projects that we did that day as well, which was very cool.
I love hands-on projects like that.
Yeah, so much fun. So because basically the organization that ran the thing had their whole thing is about sustainable farming, and the center that we did it in, that we'd had the event in, was made out of like straw bales with like plaster over the top of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
so cool, very
So
cool.
can you tell because I forgot it already. What was the name of the class? Something about
Uh,
waterways?
So it was Myco remediation workshop, rejuvenate and decontaminate soil and water with fungi.
Huh.
Yeah,
Because my husband does remediation. I wonder if he's ever thought about using mushroom. And maybe, yeah.
this is the thing, and I think that there's like, I mean, because one of the guys, the guy that I went down with, he was interested in it because he is starting to garden, and there's a lot of like thought in that regard about, how introducing certain types of mushroom to a garden can really kind of help the garden thrive, as
Mhm.
long as you're kind of doing it thoughtfully. So I absolutely and I think it was even a fantastic fungi, and she was talking about it as well, that there are certain fungi that they're doing tests on that can eat microplastics, that can eat like, polystyrene and things like that, that can clean up
I've
oil spills, you
I've
know?
heard of that. I thought it was bacteria, but I think you're right. I think it might be fungi.
Yeah.
Or maybe bacteria can do it as well.
I think
But
there's some
when,
bacteria. I think I remember reading some bacteria with
yep,
that as well.
or like
She,
anything that will eat microplastics.
right? It's what we need so badly. And there was one of the I remember one of the slides, and she was like, if it like some certain fungi encounters something that it's not sure of, it'll like keep its distance, but will like send out a wee tendril, taste the thing, come back, and then consult like its vast library of knowledge from like thousands of years of memories to like go, okay, how do we deal with this?
So it's like Avatar.
It is kind of like Avatar. That's a
It's like
very
home tree
yeah, it
with
is.
that keeps all the memories.
Yeah, it is. Like,
But okay,
uh-huh.
so like, and this is in the movie Fantastic Fungi, but I was not aware of the fact that fungi are like the telephone
Yeah.
for the forest. So like the trees communicate and everyone's like, trees communicate. And it's like, okay. But then they started really looking and they thought it was the root systems that were intertwining. And then they realized, no, it's actually the fungi that's connecting all of these different plants and trees.
Hmm.
And so without that symbiote, like obviously the mushrooms are able to use the trees and the plants as a host,
Uh-huh.
but they, and deliver nutrients and all that, but they also allow the trees to, tell the other one, I'm being cut down now.
Yeah, no.
Run,
Yeah, yeah,
run,
yeah.
right? And how interesting is that?
Yeah, excuse me, I don't think I was aware of that. Actually, that is very interesting. I mean,
Hmm.
like I think probably for those of you listening at home can tell that like I'm still in my infancy in terms of learning about this stuff. Like I
Yeah,
still have a
so am
ways
I.
to go. But in the little engagement that I've had with it, I have found it so exciting and so kind of interesting. And you know, the very kind of like essence of what mushrooms and mycology is all about like connection, which is absolutely a topic that I'm passionate about.
Hmm.
So it's kind of exciting to see that out in the natural world as well, and then like it's got me thinking, how can I get more involved with it?
Hmm. And I love that. I remember taking an urban farming class in college. I think I've talked to you about it before. And that's how I
Hmm.
learned about, you know, farming, within urban environments and how you can, what compost can do and what compost tea is. And
Hmm.
I made jam, it's like it
Rocks.
was, yeah, it was interesting. But also um just being able to like do some hands-on work like that. It's not, none of us are really like, how many farmers do you know?
That's true.
And we don't get the opportunity unless we're gardeners and really interested in that type of thing. It's not that the opportunity isn't there, it's just not uh, as readily
It's
available.
not. But it's
We
like
go to the store and everything's prepackaged and
exactly.
pre-made, and it's easier and it takes less time.
And it's like, how do you like go and have a conversation with a farmer, or do you know what I mean? Like, it's just hard to like. I think, like, again, one of the things that was so exciting about this room full of people, there were farmers there, there were like home
Mhm.
gardeners, there was a guy who owns a soil company and like has been like making his own, he's been perfecting his own compost for like 10, 20 years. And
It's
like,
a
it
thing.
is,
There's
like,
like so many different ways to do it, and like the like what compost tea is, it's basically like all the stuff that like settles to the bottom
hmm
eventually just
yes,
becomes like a wet broth, and you take that wet broth, you mix it with some water, and it's like basically it's kind of like you're and then you pour it on the plants, and that
yes,
inoculates them from all of these bad nasty diseases that they can have. And we actually did an experiment where we put for same plants, broccoli, no compost tea on this half, compost tea on this half, and the ones that got the compost tea grew faster, produced more. It was
interesting.
fascinating. Yeah. And so they allowed us to make those mistakes too, which was nice.
I mean, that's how you learn. Like, but then that's one of the, they talked about that as well, that or something like that, where they would take this kind of healthy piece of compost and kind of place it in another site, and how that can have valuable impact on the area. It's like he had he had a microscope with him. We were like looking at the compost in detail. He was making us smell the compost. And
Yeah.
like there was
And
like
you're like,
yeah,
get
I was
in
like, this is
there.
nice actually. The good like because like you expect compost to stink, and he's like, yeah, and he goes, but this is like I've worked in this for years. It's like stable. It's it's kind of got a complete balance of everything that compost should
Yep.
have. Through the microscope, we could actually see all the kind of bacteria doing its work. We could see little strands of mycelia and all sorts of things. It was just fascinating. His uh his wife was there with him as well, and somebody was like, so you could almost eat it, and they were like, ha ha ha. And then his wife's like, he does. And he's like, I probably shouldn't, but I had to taste it I had it
Yeah.
once or twice.
Yeah.
He's like, I love it. And I'm like,
Well,
well, that's so cool.
the health benefits. So I used to work for a naturopathic association,
Uh-huh.
and so we would have people come in and talk about different ways to be healthy and in a, I would say, more conventional way because this is like old medicine.
Hmm.
So I was like, all right, well, what are some of the health benefits from eating uh eating or taking like capsules of different types of mushrooms? Because there's so many different types of mushrooms.
Yeah.
Some of them are poisonous, so do not eat everything. Like, get an ID book, Andy,
Hmm.
because they're edible
Fine.
and non-edible, right?
Hmm.
Some of them can kill you. You don't want that. Um, but they, okay, first of all, they can survive in outer space.
Cool.
So, space shroom studies, aka mushrooms brought into outer space by humans, have shown to survive with incredibly high doses of radiation. So then I think of
Interesting.
Chernobyl and like that whole area coming back to life. So they're a great source of antioxidants. I've been prescribed when I was getting treatment down in Mexico. Um, I had a whole I was taking four different types of mushrooms for different with different healing properties that I don't remember off the top of my head, but they can decrease the risk of cancer. Uh, they can lower your sodium intake. So it like
Hmm.
absorbs it. It
Wow.
promotes lower cholesterol, protects your brain health. It's a perfect source of vitamin D. It stimulates a healthier gut. And as like all these new studies are coming out that show how important your gut health actually is.
Yeah.
And it just supports, a healthy immune system. So you can go to a natural health food store or talk to a naturopathic doctor or a naturopath and, you know, do a little research yourself, but it's crazy how wonderful it is that you can eat or take a capsule of a plant that isn't a pharmaceutical drug and it can, you know, help your body.
Absolutely. And like and one of the things that I had wanted to like dig into, but I didn't get a chance to ask about, I just didn't feel like it was that sort of session, was that, has been some research done on certain mushrooms helping with like degenerative brain conditions and things like that. And so like the applications are limitless, especially for something that an area of like science that hasn't really had a concerted effort to like understand it for like a long, long time. And it's only fairly recently that it's starting to become a
Which it's
serious
like we were talking about
science.
meditation last week, and you know, this idea that transcendental meditation has had millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars put into the
Yeah.
research behind that. Like this is an area where I think we could, since we're the ones telling everyone where the money goes, right?
Yes.
But this is an
Yes.
area that I think would be very beneficial.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's like I think easy to like diminish it, but like it's I think honestly diminished by people who dum-dums, I guess. People who just like, oh, just mushrooms, 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 but like, I think it's very much in a world that like, as much as I've scratched the surface of it, I'm excited to like delve more into it, in a big way.
Mhm. Um, okay, so I have a, a money-making idea for you.
Go hit me.
Caterpillar fungus. It's a
Okay.
parasitic fungus that kills. Wait, no, no, no.
Hmm.
Yes. Okay, so it's Yartsa caterpillar
Okay.
fungus. Parasitic fungus kills its host, and uses it. Maybe you've seen this in like a nature show
Hmm.
where it like kills the host and then it's gross, and
Oh,
then
I
like
have.
the
Hmm.
mushroom grows out of
Yep.
the dead carcass, for
Yes.
the caterpillar's head.
I,
So
yeah.
this has been used for like centuries with healers, to treat illnesses, boost energy, endurance. Apparently, eating them is considered a huge status symbol. So for an ounce US, you get $2,000.
Wow.
Get your
Wow.
fucking basket, get the
Okay.
fuck out there, get your bonnet, go
Shit.
find some of these caterpillar fungi,
Okay, that'll be a good business to get into.
or grow them yourself. I don't know. Get some
I,
caterpillars and say you're sorry
yeah.
to them.
Bros,
Gross.
it's for the greater good.
Right.
And get me rich. So like I know because like that's I think largely the inspiration for the things in The Last of Us.
Yes.
I think there's another more insidious version of that that takes control of ants and certain spiders and things like that. And I remember, I think it was sometime last year seeing
Yeah.
a video of a guy finding a tarantula had been infected by one, which is very unusual because they normally don't hit things quite as large as a tarantula. And it was just fascinating. This thing, it had just walked into a certain place where it could, start breeding from there and just kind of grew out of this tarantula. And it's crazy,
Okay.
absolutely
So
crazy looking.
I found this. So it's the cordyceps mushroom.
Yes.
It can infect ants and turn them into zombies. So, and it says, yeah, The Last of Us, the shrooms infect the ants with their spores, causing them to become brainwashed and disoriented. The fungus this then compels the ant to leave their nest and go to a nearby stem, the perfect place to grow a fungus. And then the fruiting body bursts through the ant's head.
Yeah. Intense.
I love it.
So intense.
But someone was like, I'm learning about mushrooms. Wow, this would be very interesting if this was like a human
Yeah.
condition, right? And I'm going to make a video game and then like an award-winning series about the
True.
cordyceps mushroom
Yeah. It's kind of wild. Like I think remember
with Pedro Pascal.
with Pedro Pascal, the hottest ticket in Hollywood.
I know, right?
Um I remember seeing a handful again a few years ago I saw a talk about mushrooms and this was about magic mushrooms largely and a guy who's been done experiments on mental health with them and things like that, but he talked about somebody who tried to inject mushrooms
Oh,
before, and it
interesting.
was very
Not a
bad,
good,
very
very
bad
bad.
indeed. Because they started growing, mushroom strains started growing within his bloodstream, and it was a fucking shit show to deal with, essentially. But yeah, so they definitely can't find a footing anywhere, which is kind of scary. But
Mm,
it's unlikely. I think that they would actually make a leap like that.
like into your bloodstream.
Yeah.
You need a syringe for that.
Yeah, you need a syringe and you need to be a fucking dumbass.
Cordyceps got to be like,
Yeah, yeah.
ah.
Let's try this cordyceps, see what happens for a laugh. Um, yeah. So who knows? We're certainly not short of dum-dums on this planet, so anything's possible.
Uh, do you know that they can make you immortal?
Okay, keep talking.
So Reshi is a blend that I took. So maybe that's why I'm just still kicking.
Sure.
Uh, Obviously this is an over exaggeration, but the Reshi mushrooms are known as the mushroom of immortality, and it's Reishi, Reshi. So I'm sure
Okay.
I'm saying it wrong. But it's been revered in China for like thousands of years and believed like boosts energy, immunity. promotes relaxation and helps detoxify the body. So
That's wow. I had
I
not.
know,
I
I
don't even
know.
think I know that strain.
And there's another kind that glows in the dark. No, there's 80 different strains. Okay, so I'm going all the way back. I should have started with this. So, would you say mushrooms are a plant or an animal?
So I know this. Where
Okay.
they're closer to us than they are to plants. So
Yeah,
they're more of an animal, right?
they're neither.
They're neither. Okay,
They're
awesome.
their own thing. So they belong to they're like you know how you have look at my giant brain, Andy. We've
Sure.
got kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species.
Yeah.
They're in their own kingdom.
Wow.
And you're not wrong. They're closely related, more related to humans than they are to plants. Scientists believe that ourselves and mushrooms share an ancestor.
Wow. How
What
interesting.
what do you think that looked like?
It's a good question. Folks at home, write in with your drawings. What do you think that
Please
looked like?
do. Please do.
So
So I thought that was fascinating.
that is great. I had no idea about that. I remember like seeing I think God, I don't even know what this was talking about, the origins of life on this planet and how like some of the first things that formed were these kind of tubes at the bottom of the ocean and they kind of like shot air out and sucked it back in and how that action of like taking air in and out of the body has informed so
The
much of
lungs.
life on this planet, the lungs and
Uh-huh.
everything, and how like life exists essentially, which is
Not lungs,
so
but
fascinating. But just like our process of like living by like
yeah,
pulling the stuff that we
something
need into of
in
us and then
and
ejecting it back out.
off-gassing,
Yeah.
whatever. Huh.
So like we're all like descended from these lava tubes or whatever in a odd sort of way. I mean I think it was just a theory, but it's such a compelling one.
No, we're aliens, Andy.
Yeah, where we're seated here. If James Cameron's Prometheus has taught me anything, it's that the engineers planted us on this planet
That's
many years
exactly,
ago.
exactly.
It's not what that film said. Something like that. Can't remember. Uh,
Uh, much like I know uh the scientific whatever, I can
hmm
also name the seven dwarfs. Did you know this?
Okay, get me up.
Sleepy, happy, dopey, bashful. Wait, sleepy, happy, dopey, grumpy, bashful, sneezy, duck.
Nice. Good work.
You're welcome.
Okay. You'll be all set for the live action.
I think oh, I know, I can't even think about that.
Oh
That was that was a clusterfuck. But I think
God.
that it's the Reshi that helps me remember these things.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So an advertising for Reshi everywhere, everyone.
Right, right, right.
Um,
But yeah, no, you were saying like with like brain diseases. So
mhm. Yes.
there's like cognitive issues. It says the effects of eating mushrooms on mild cognitive impairment, um, which can cause like memory, language difficulties, and often as a precursor for Alzheimer's.
Yep.
Just eat mushrooms.
Yep. Do it.
Promote that brain. You know what you know what my least favorite food on the planet is?
Mushrooms.
Fucking mushrooms.
I
I
love,
hate I hate them.
fucking love them.
No, anyone is like a portobello burger, and I'm like,
Yum
if I
yum.
wanted to eat a fucking slug, I would.
Yeah, I do understand it, and I think it is a
It's a
textural thing.
texture
Yeah.
thing. Like I can eat them raw,
I,
fine, but they taste ugh,
I love them.
cooked.
Love them. Love them. Love
There's
them.
something wrong with all. Yeah,
Yeah,
you're just wrong.
I know that's fair. I totally understand the textural issues with mushrooms completely, like, but I do love them. Yeah, like, and I think I kind of probably need to explore more options with them as well. I mean, it's just, it's made me start thinking a bit about other kind of strains of mushrooms I haven't eaten. Of the edible ones, obviously, I'm not talking about magic mushrooms on this occasion. Um, so yeah, yeah. So catch me probably in like 6 months from now, wearing all my kind of pro mushroom fan gear,
He'll be wearing a
big mushroom
beekeeping
hat,
suit, and we'll be
beekeeping
like, no,
suit.
no, Andy, this is the wrong outfit.
Wearing my mushroom. Yeah, you're right. It is. I spent a fortune in this.
I know.
What have I done, you fucking idiot, Andrew?
So
Um,
you get for doing your taxes.
yeah, exactly. Lesson learned, everybody. Don't do your taxes. Fuck the government. Um, I wanted to like talk about one more thing, just in terms of
Yes.
the event. So the other kind of piece of practical work that she did with us was she showed us how to correctly kind of prepare substrate, or one of the methods for preparing
Hmm.
substrate,
Hmm.
which was we took um a load of
So substrate, explain to
so
folks what
substrate
that is.
is the kind of what's the word I'm looking for here?
It's not
It's
dirt.
it's
It's
essentially no, it's not. It's not. So it can be a variety of different things, but the one that so it's basically something that the mycelia can feed upon to thrive and grow,
Mhm.
essentially.
Mhm.
Um, so like certain kind of types of wood. So essentially, we took pine and we covered it in non-chlorinated water, and you have to leave that for like several weeks, and then dump out the water, and you have this substrate that's ready to go, and you can just put mushrooms on it, and they should grow without too many problems. But the one that was like of specific interest to me was coffee grounds she was talking about, and because like I generate this house certainly generates a ton of coffee grounds, so it's something I'm
I
going to
would
look
agree. I
into
would agree
in
with that.
right in terms of like using my own sort of in terms of generating my own substrate. Um, so it's just finding a way to cleanse that properly. I can't remember the exact words she used, like but basically a way to like get rid of all the sort of other bacteria that may be competing within it, and then you can just kind of introduce the mushrooms and they can kind of thrive. Like she had interesting ideas about like applying like honey or wax onto them, because like that sort of sweet element can really kind of help them kind of kick off, because like they essentially just need to feed. So something you give them something to feed upon,
You're like,
they'll do all right, you know.
here's your Reese's peanut butter cup.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, no way. Those are my Reese's. But yeah, fascinating subject. Fascinating.
Yeah, and you can grow your own at home. They sell kits
Yes.
now, which like I didn't grow up with those. Um, but yeah, it's easy to get your own substrate from the mail, get the spores from the mail, and grow your own.
Yeah.
So your
It's
own what was their our $1 million ones? The
yeah, million
caterpillar fungus.
caterpillar fungus. Okay, those are the ones we're working on. So
Yep.
we just need some caterpillars and some
Yeah. Some volunteer
substrate.
caterpillars that are like
Yeah,
ready to
guys.
be done.
Yeah. Guys, it'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Just sign this
I
piece of
know.
paper.
Right,
You're all good.
right,
Um, I
right.
love it. Do you have anything else you want to talk about?
Ah,
Mushrooms?
you know that the obvious one, which would be psilocybin,
Yes, that's true. We haven't touched on that at
which
all, which I
no,
think people will be surprised about.
I know, right? Haha, we waited until the last
I
five
know.
minutes to talk about the thing you really wanted to know about. Um, so y- you, I don't even, I guess like it's not illegal to mail spores.
Yes. And
Wink, wink.
wink, wink. And I will also say that like I'm sure I've talked about this before a little bit as well. My journey with through mental health has made me fairly disillusioned with the system that we have. I think that there's a lot of compelling evidence of the value of magic mushrooms for that very thing. And
Mhm.
I wouldn't say that is entirely my where my interest begins and ends. Like I absolutely have an interest in the recreational side of them too, but I really think that there's a lot of value there, and unexplored. And I think we talked about it in recent weeks where it was like it's such a shame that this stuff is so maligned. Like like it's a shame to me that all drugs are lumped in, all illegal drugs are lumped in as the same thing a lot of the time, because like they are so vastly different. And I think that there are absolutely benefits to things like ayahuasca to things like magic mushrooms to things like even like ketamine and stuff like that in terms of like as therapies for people. There absolutely is. And it's such a shame that there's so many barriers to get through,
Mhm.
for those to be like taken seriously.
Yeah. And when I was in Mexico, I was prescribed there you are allowed to be prescribed psilocybin in
Yes.
microdose quantities. And they've legalized psilocybin for medical use in California. It's going to
Yeah.
take a few years to roll it out, but um,
I think they
it
did
is,
it in Australia as well recently, as far as
did
I remember.
they?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so.
So it's becoming more um, not available, but the stigma around them
Yes.
is especially with we in our state we have a lot of military retired military, and they're finding
Hmm.
the benefits for PTSD, CPTSD, trauma therapy, that it's very beneficial. So I just think having different types of natural therapies for people, under a doctor's care is uh it is a great idea because
Agreed.
everybody's different. Everybody, responds to things differently, and some things work for some people and not others. And the more options you have, the better. So, yeah,
Completely agree.
yeah,
Completely agree. Love it. Yeah, yeah, mushrooms, everybody. They rock. Um,
yeah.
I'll maybe do another episode in the future whenever I feel like I've learned a bit more about them.
Mhm.
In looking into them a bit more, there was like there's something I need to find out a little bit more about is one of the books that was recommended to me was a book called Radical Mycology, and it's enormous. But what was really interesting is that the guy who wrote it knew nothing about mushrooms going into it, learned a shit ton, and
Uh-huh.
then created this thing. And apparently that's what he does professionally is he just starts
Decides to learn something.
and then learns everything about it and writes books about it. And I'm like, wow, what a fascinating dude. And like that book looks cool as hell, but it's massive, which has put me off a little bit. But maybe someday. But yeah, the one that has been recommended to me that I'm going to pick up next is something called Entangled Life, which
Hmm.
is like 400 pages, so seems a hell of a lot more manageable.
What a great title.
Yeah, and is relatively new as well, so I think it's like pretty cutting edge in terms of what's going on with mushrooms. So excited for it.
Cutting edge mushroom
Yes,
information.
yeah, right. That's what we want. As you know, we are on the cutting edge here at Belly
Hell
Podcast.
yes.
Love it.
I love it. I love that you did that. And like, I think when you're like, I did this cool thing, and I was like, God, I miss doing interesting, not that, I don't do interesting things. I absolutely do, but just the idea of like going and taking a class and being able to do something hands-on,
Yeah.
about something you know absolutely nothing about, being outside, and like I'm all for that. So I'm impressed that you did it, and I'm glad you brought it here to
Yes.
Bendy.
Yes. It was invigorating, and yeah, I loved it. I loved it. But yeah.
Very good.
So shall we move on to our Bowie section, which is what's been bringing you joy this week?
All
Do you want me to
right.
go first, or you got it?
Yeah, no, mine's I'm just like I just want comfort right now. So
Sure.
like mashed potatoes,
Yep.
fried rice, and then I have
Gotcha.
these really giant polar bear slippers
I love
that
it.
I've been wearing around the house. And those are the things that are bringing me joy.
I like it. Okay, perfect. That's
Yep, yep.
exactly what we're looking for. Um,
I showed Andy my polar bear
she did. She did. They were
slippers. So
great.
yeah,
I loved
they're
them.
huge.
I'm envious.
I know,
Uh,
right? Next
Um,
time you come, we'll go to SeaWorld.
oh, is that where you got them?
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, because I was like, God, because you'd asked me about, SeaWorld. I was like, I don't know if I want to go to SeaWorld. I was like, and then I was like, what, SeaWorld has roller coasters? Okay. I kind of want to go right now.
Yeah.
Like good ones
Yeah.
as well. I'm like, okay, now I'm
Yeah.
interested.
Yeah.
And I know there's, but like I'm definitely curious about that.
You can go on
Um,
the roller coasters and not look at the animals.
yes, and that's kind of where I'm at with it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so
What
what's
about
been
you?
bringing me joy this week is Skeleton Crew, the Star Wars recent Star Wars show.
Really? Is it good?
It is, and I'm really
This is the one
surprised.
with Jude Law?
Yes,
Okay.
like somebody described it to me as like Star Wars does Goonies, and it's a perfect description of it.
Ooh.
It's really is
Do you
because
have to
it's
watch all the other things to
no,
like get in?
no.
Okay, good.
It is very much self-contained. Another reason why I'm really enjoying it, it feels like it's creating its own sort of like mythos. It does like lean into the kind of more traditional Star Warsy aspects a little bit, but not much. It feels very self-contained, a new kind of interesting piece of lore about the Star Wars universe. So like it's great so far. Like I think it's nearly finished now. But I remember seeing trailers for this and I was like, I have fuck all interest in this just because I know what the Star Wars shows have been like over the past few years, and like most of them have not worked for me. So like I was not interested at all, but I'm really loving it, and it's just a really nice
Awesome.
show. So I definitely recommend it. As I say, honestly, Star Wars Does Goonies, I think is as good a description as you're going to get of it, and it definitely fits that bill for me.
Like the Goonies for me is like, I don't know. Anytime we're watching something with Josh Brolin,
Mhm.
I'm like, you guys, like, I know he's like in a Marvel movie, but you know who that is, right? He's a Goonie. And they're like, he's a Goonie. I'm like, yeah. Like
Huh?
anytime we see a Goonie in anything else, I'm like, that's a Goonie. And like just, you know, it's a it's a real piece of my
It's
childhood.
such a
So that
touchstone, like
yeah, it is. That's exactly what the word I was trying to figure out in my brain.
um
But
I think it was. I'm trying to remember. I think I'm pretty sure it was on the Ronan podcast. Andy Samberg, I think, or one of the NSNL writers had like a Goonies poster on their wall, and like Josh Brolin was coming in as a guest host, and was like, "Oh, there I
there
am."
I am.
I was like, "That rocks. That rocks." Uh,
Goonies never say die.
love it.
Mhm.
Great, awesome. Beth, could you let everybody know where they can find us?
Yes, you can find us at bendypodcast.com and maybe not on TikTok, depending on if that goes away. Ha ha! So
Who knows? I know.
things are always changing, folks.
Yes, they are.
Trying to change with the times, but sometimes it takes a while.
Yeah,
So
for sure. But yeah, all right, folks. In that case, as always, we'd like to remind you to stay.
stay. What the fuck,
Oh, I
Andy?
had a burp. I had a burp,
Bendy.
Andy. Oh, worst burp timing
You just
ever.
stopped, and I
I
was like,
know.
did the
I was so whatever. All right, bye. Love you.
bye.